Welcome to another edition of Table Talk, and today we are really blessed to have Martin and Sarah, and we're going to talk about a really difficult topic, difficult that is for those who don't understand, and that is autism. But before we get to autism, I just want to take your minds back a little bit to a time, a faraway land called Birmingham, and I found myself being single, and if you remember, there was quite a few of us who were single at Great Barr at the time, and I spent a lot of time hunting for material, Christian material for single people to help them, and I could not find a thing. So I was forced to put one set of studies together, and as you remember, we studied everything. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because we kind of made a vow. Well, I think I kind of made a vow, and I kind of broke my own vow, I guess, that we said that we wouldn't, those who were attending the study wouldn't get married until we'd finished the studies.
Well, stay out of relationships was the actual punchline.
It didn't quite work out that way, did it? I jumped ship very quickly and
I knew nothing about it.
Got into that relationship. But out of that study set, I mean, you guys ended up getting married.
We did
as well. So tell us about that. About how you guys got to meet and
we got married.
Yeah, I know, but how did
3 months in?
Because there was something romantic about some hill in a faraway distant land or something.
What was that?
Yeah, I remember you guys talking about the Sunning Hills.
Oh, the Licky Hills.
Yeah, the Licky Hills.
No, that's where I proposed. Wow, being put on the spot. Thanks, Mike. So, me and Sarah had met online. I was going through you was taking us through those singles classes, and just as we was coming to the end of the single classes, me and Sarah had met online, and we started talking, and we'd met up for a couple of dates.
This is before the days of swipe to the left and
I think those days were actually there. I just don't think they'd been truly developed properly yet. But yeah, and people meet online these days, and we were not much different. So yeah, we'd got talking online. We went for a couple of dates, and like a true Christian engagement, it didn't last very long until we got married. But yeah, I proposed at a place in just outside of Worcestershire called the Licky Hills. Beautiful, picturesque place, and yeah.
So
took her there, took her for fish and chips, bought her some flowers, and proposed to her.
I was just going to say to you,
not very expensive.
It was the best I had at the time.
I was just going to ask you, was it all as romantic as you thought it was going to be?
You have to think twice.
It seemed romantic at the time.
At least that was original.
It was original. Yeah. It was original. I kind of knew. I was not that. It was. I don't know. It happened. I was like, yeah, and then we just did a fish and chips. So it was like it just, you know when you go in your head and you're going, yeah, this happened and that happened, and then you just carry on with what's happening.
Yeah.
It was like that. You just go. It was like that, and it's such a long way back to remember as well, isn't it? Because this is our years we've been married. 13th, 14th year we're married. Don't even know.
Shocking. We got married in 2010. Right, it's easy. Right, but she cannot get it in her head. I don't know why.
But he never remembers what
I never remember the date. And the reason why is because our anniversary, the day we got married, is a day before my Christian anniversary is the day I got baptised. So our wedding anniversary is the 6th of November, and I got baptised on the 7th. Now the thing is, in my head, I can't quite get my head around I can never remember if I got baptised on the 6th and married on the 7th, or if it was the other way around. And the thing is so we ended up baptising somebody, or no, in fact, so the day before his bonfire night, and somebody else's anniversary, somebody else who ended up getting married, their anniversary's on the 5th. So you got the 5th, the 6th and the 7th, and it all just blends into one.
Such an excuse.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I never remember, I always lose track of how many years we married, and he doesn't remember the date, and I always remind him of the date. So just like...
So as long as somebody remembers the date.
Somebody remembers something.
You know, the year.
So it started with fish and chips, and the next thing you know, here you are 120 years later and still
Exactly, yeah.
yeah. So tell us about your kids. But before we go on, like I've said this today, yesterday, and I'll probably always say it. You know, my most proudest moment is when Isaac said Mike before Dad. Or Mum, you know, that was never intentional. It was a lovely moment. I know you guys were chuffed about it.
Yeah, but the thing is, right, do you know what? That's ended up a funny story that we continue to tell.
Yeah.
I was telling it to someone the other day, because it's just one of them.
Yeah.
One of them, the stories that crops
your
up.
first child, instead of saying for the first word Mom or Dad, said Mike.
But then we wasn't going Mike.
Mike.
Yeah.
Because it's just stuck, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's just one of them. It has just stuck.
Which, the funny thing is Holly's first words was Isaac. And even now, if you ask her to say the name Isaac, she puts the accent on the C right at the end, so it's Isaac.
Yeah.
That's what she's
and
always done.
she's done it for years, and I called her on it the other day, and I realised, but I remember her, she has always said Isaac, and then puts the accent on the
So
last
that was a
C.
kicking cat on it that shouldn't even be there. Yeah.
So how old is Isaac now?
Isaac's 12.
12.
Come on now.
It's a long time, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
12-year-old, growing
He's
up very
12.
fast, and just give us a quick summary of how he's doing and what he's like as a child. And
Still is a child.
Yeah.
Where do we
Yeah, where do we start?
cricket?
okay, so-
Which bit?
Isaac is quite an intrigued kid. He's very curious. He's okay. So, if you look up the term autism in the dictionary, there's so many different variants. But he's in many areas. He's not your typical autistic child. So you can kind of, he has to have routine, but it don't have to be regimented. There's certain areas that do, but certain areas that don't. It's for example, last weekend we went up to Boston in Lincolnshire. And got no issue going away. He doesn't have to be in his bed at exact time every day. He doesn't have to, you know. It's not a case of, you know, he's got to have this cup of drink.
But never give him a pink cup.
Yeah, never give him a pink cup or flat.
Pink cup.
But there's certain elements that there's a certain aspects of life that have got to be routine, like school. Unless Dad takes him to school of a morning, I don't pick him up. I take him on my way to work. But in his head, that's part of the routine. And once it becomes routine, it's got to be the routine.
yeah,
Right. But with a lot of autistic people, you know, that cup has got to be filled to the exact line. It's got to be in the same place. It's got to appear between the hours of A and B. He's not that regimented, but there are certain aspects that are. Isaac knows what he likes, and he likes what he knows. At the moment, he's really big into computers and technology. He used to race karts.
I was going to say he was pretty good at that, isn't he?
He was doing really, really well. And you know, like with most things in life, you have ups, you have downs. He experienced a few lows. Isaac was really, really good when he wanted to be there. If he actually wanted to be there, it was very, very hard to be. Always in the top 3 times. But if he didn't want to be there, then yeah, there wouldn't be accidents, and he just wouldn't push himself. He'd just literally drive around track just because he can, rather than because he wanted to. So you know, the same with most kids. You know, if they want to do something, they'll do something. They'll do it well. If they don't really want to, then they're just, you know, it's not really fully devoted.
Sounds like any adult to me. But you've got 2 children.
We have got 2 children, but you asked about Isaac.
I know.
Yeah, I'm going to come in a second.
You have Isaac and Holly, but with Isaac, I think he's really an intelligent child.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And he's so lovely. He's lovely.
You can have him. You make me an offer.
Yes. Oh no, he's priceless. Kids are priceless. But you know, it's interesting what you said about autism and the fact that there is a range. I know we'll come to that later, probably. But there is a spectrum, should I say?
Yes.
And does it stop him? Because every child is different, and every child has their strengths, their weaknesses, their characteristics, and I guess the difficulty or the difference is, if you had a child that is autistic and one that isn't, the differences are probably more, you're probably more aware of that. But bottom line is, every child, no matter what difficulties they have, is unique. You know, and every child has their strength and their weaknesses.
So when did you first pick up that Isaac was different?
We knew when he was, it became when he was approaching between ages of 1 and 2. There was behaviours that he was demonstrating that didn't class as your regular normal baby milestones, like things he would do with his toys. So he would line up all of these toys from one end of the room to the other in a specific order, and there'd be specific ways he would play, or live positions he would put himself on the floor, which weren't, and we would watch it and we would say, we think it's this and this and this, and we was able to pick up on it because our past experience of working with children with special needs, and then Martin having family members, nieces and nephews, etc., with autism and other things. So we was able to see there. So we had to just keep dealing with what you could see. But so these are things we were seeing with these behaviours during play. But apart from that, also feeding wasn't feeding wise when he was younger was not the easiest challenge. He did not like milk, so getting milk down him was really was quite difficult, especially when you start weaning a baby between like 5 to 6 months. Back then it wasn't, but now that stuff changes all the time. So when it come to weaning him, and he'd be up in the night, he wouldn't want to take that night. He wouldn't want to take the milk. He would want food. Mm-hmm. So I'd have to get a rusk, a bad rusk, and I'd have to milk that down and make him have it that way. And then it got to the point where every time I tried to talk to the health visitors, I cringe, because they had no experience. They didn't understand. They had no experience whatsoever. They kept telling us that all these things he was doing was totally normal. And back then, and just normal, it's a word sometimes I wish it did not even exist in life anymore, because you can't. So what is normal? It's true. You don't know what that is. So we kept hitting these barriers. We're in the mix of this. We've got Holly coming along with all of her needs, which we'll talk about in a while, and then we've got all this going on with Isaac. So Isaac keeps going down this path, so we just keep mulling as best as we can. But every time I tried to talk to somebody who could help us, we were just kept getting told, no, it's fine, he's alright, he's alright, he's alright, and didn't want to dismiss it. And then so we got caught, so we was dealing with this, and it carried on. And then when it came to him, learning him how to go to the toilet, with constant barriers with toileting, there was a lot of sensory issues that triggered off back then, but we didn't know what was going on or why. There was a lot of problems then. And I look back now and go, yeah, it was this and it was this, but because we were still hitting that barrier. And it didn't matter. And then in nursery, there was no help there. But
the moment for me was, so Isaac was a Sure Start nursery, which is like a government set up nursery. And we got called this one day. Isaac's had a bit of an accident, and he's tried to put his arm up in the air, and he's just like screaming. And what he'd done, he was on a tricycle, and he'd come off the tricycle, and he'd hurt himself, didn't realise the extent of the injury. And then they were doing some dancing, singing activities and stuff, and he put his arms in the air, and he couldn't do it, he was in so much pain. So we got called, we took him to Sandwell Hospital, took him to A&E.
Getting him in the ambulance was
really hard, well, I hadn't quite got there. I met you over at the hospital.
Yeah, you met us, yeah.
So I got over to the hospital, done the x-rays, and he broke his collarbone. Now, the doctor had said that he needed to have his jumper off because he'd got a jumper. And you could see he was uncomfortable. So anyway, we've asked him to get this jumper off. And he couldn't lift his arm up to get his jumper off. And I was like, he's stuck. And then he freaked out and going, I'm stuck, but it was the way he was saying it. It was almost like the parrot fashion. And it broke my heart at that time, not for the fact that he's stuck, but it was the realisation that we'd seen, like I said, all the patterns, and I'd seen the same patterns with two of my nephews, and I was like, I think he's got autism. I think there's definitely an element there, and then it was, like I said, once you've picked up on it, you can start seeing the other signs going. Yeah, this is very much so. Like one of his big comfort blankets now. Okay, there is massive sibling rivalry in regards to him and Holly, but they can't be without each other. Like when Isaac used to come back from karting weekends, the first thing he'd do is absolutely bolt for his sister. But within 5 minutes, they're clashing again. Yeah, but they can't. They can't be. They are inseparable. And Holly's exactly the same. If she's at Brownies doing Brownies weekend, when she comes back, the first thing she does is she wants Isaac time. So yeah, there's this. There is this sibling love-hate relationship going on as well.
Well, we've mentioned Holly a few times, and I think it'd be good to talk about her. I call her the miracle child. And for those at home who don't understand why, I'm sure these guys are going to explain why Holly is a miracle child.
It's okay, wasn't it?
Sarah can elaborate to start?
As far as I can, Holly. There's a lot. There's a lot, but we'll just like try and do a mini. So Holly, so during my pregnancy with Holly, I became unwell, but there was concern about the growth, etc., and things like that. So I was at work one day, and I became quite unwell, and I was at work. And then I was like, I think I need to go to hospital, blah blah. So I was at work and I found Martin, and then from work I think I got a taxi to the hospital, and I was at Russell's Hall then, and we went there, and I was there and stayed there. They put me on, started doing the monitors, etc. My blood pressure was in a mess. Holly's heartbeat wasn't right. There was lots and lots going on, and so I was there, and then got admitted straight away, and we was on monitors, etc., etc., etc. And then it all escalated from there, didn't it? And that was within. I was probably in a week. I think I was in a week, weren't I? I think roughly a week, and in the midst of that, Holly appeared to have any. And then they sent us over to.
Well, I don't know where this week. I don't remember a week. I remember.
I remember it was like one thing after another after another.
Yeah.
So this is how I remember it.
Oh, there's lots, but it's just.
Oh, right.
Making it.
So anyway.
Hectic.
So they'd done the scan,
Yeah.
and they realised that the blood flow.
That's what I was going to go into.
Yeah. The blood flow in the umbilical cord was only going in one direction. So it should be going.
It was so it was the tubes that produced the oxygen to the food.
Yeah.
They weren't working properly. That's
so
on the
it's known as a Doppler. Doppler radars, you know, when with weather and stuff, exactly the same. It's supposed to be going one way and the other, and it wasn't. So Holly, or Sarah, was 28 weeks. 28, is it?
20. She was born at 29 weeks. Holly was.
Okay.
I was 28 when it first kicked off, and then by the time we had it was 29 by the time we did this.
So a full term is how many weeks?
30 over 37 weeks class as full term.
Yes.
To 40.
Yeah.
So yes.
39 is supposed to be the
30.
Okay, I'm doing context purposes, which the host should be doing, right? So anyway,
it's your story.
I know it's my story. The host should be better prepared. I'm busting his chops.
Crack on.
So, right. So we don't know much. As parents, we didn't know much about preemie babies, and we certainly didn't. In our head is we're going to lose child.
We was prepared for it to come out.
So
not alive.
Holly was due at Christmas, and this was September, and they says we've got to do an emergency C-section. She's got to come out.
First time I've ever had surgery in my life, so I had no idea what was going on.
They threw us in this little room just to have a deliberation and a conflab, and the first words out of my mouth were, "We need to give her a name because I don't want to be burying a baby with no name."
Yeah, that's what
Don't. And that was I honestly thought we're going to lose her. Because like I said, nobody tells you what the success rate of premature birth is. You know, the wonders of modern science, the wonders of the NHS, the facilities. We're so blessed to live in a place where, you know, babies 12 weeks still have, you know, I think it's between an 80 and a 90% chance, which is phenomenal, absolutely unbelievably phenomenal. But so because she was due at Christmas, we decided to call her Holly, and she came and she was well. Obviously she needed to go through all the preemie. Well, she for at the time she was well. Right, so she came, she was well as a premature child could be. Incubators. Now with premature children, you have to wait until your actual due date, where they're fully developed, because they're in an incubator until that time. So they were saying a week before Christmas she can come home. Perfect. Was looking forward to it, getting everything prepped. We got her home and so excited. And over the course of a week, her health deteriorated. She developed pneumonia.
She developed bronchiolitis. Bronchitis and SRV. So SRV is RSV. I'll get there. Anyway, RSV is a severe form of flu, form of like a flu, which is really common in premature babies. And then you've got that bronchi stuff as well, and it's all trapped in there. It was all trapped all in there. And lungs, weren't it? So you went to, I was there with that week, and she was at and it was the Sunday. A couple of times I saw that. A couple of times I don't know. Her lips had gone blue. A couple of times I thought, oh, maybe she's just cold. Didn't realise. And then it was like later on, you'd been to work, you'd been out, and later on the day you'd got on your lap and you went, she's doesn't feel right. Her breathing isn't right. And then we contacted my parents, and we ended up went to hospital, and she just continued to deteriorate, and then
what had happened? Okay, so called ambulance because the preemie wagon come, picked her up, took her in. I met her at Russell's Hall.
This is after my mum and dad took me and Holly to hospital.
No, I remember this. This is
it's all linked in with the same story.
Yes. So she's gone in via the preemie wagon, the ambulance. I've got to Russell's Hall. I've got into the room, and there's a nurse resuscitating Holly in front of my eyes.
I couldn't go in. I couldn't do it.
You could tell just by listening and the detail you're giving.
There's also a lot that we're not saying, that we're saying stuff but not saying stuff.
It stays with you.
There's so much pain that doesn't actually like go. There's so much trauma involved for the parents that like there's so much there that stays with you, and it never goes away, because you're seeing things that nobody, you don't want anyone to ever be able to see. It's like an experience.
How did you find that you were coping as Christians? Did being Christians help you to cope? Because obviously, I know we're talking about Holly, but you also had Isaac, and the things you were going through with Isaac. And at the same time, you started to go through this with Holly.
Yeah.
Did being a Christian help you through this situation, or did it just bring more questions as to the why, as to the how, as to the,
It's a great question for me, but and I keep coming back to it. Except for there used to be an illustration that Mike used to do. He used to put a little black dot in the middle of a white page and go, what do you see? A little black dot. It says, you're missing the whole of the rest of the page. When you're in that moment, it's so hard to look further than the dot on the page. As Christians, yes, we know that we know that the rest of the paper's there. We know the rest of the picture is there, but you are so consumed with the dot on the page. As Christians, I think the beauty is we were surrounded by Christians. That was really God's blessing to us, that we were surrounded by beautiful people. And that's that's what Christianity should be. That when two or one is suffering, the rest of the congregation come and
let me ask you a question that you don't have to answer if you don't want to answer. I've never been in a scenario. I know lots of people with autism and things, but I've never had to. I haven't got children, but I've in that scenario 24/7 for years on end, and that I spoke to, that must be a nightmare to the degree, but you got on with it because you.
Yeah.
So my question is this, and please don't take it the wrong way. Have you ever sort of blamed God or said, God, why is this? Because that would be a common reaction for a lot of people, even people who don't believe in God, they would blame the God who doesn't exist type thing. Is that ever questioned your mind, or?
No.
No.
Just got on with it.
Exactly. But this is my personal opinion, by the way. I think we're all on this spectrum. I think every single one of us. Some of us might want to deny it and go, oh, but if you look at traits of ADHD, of OCD, of autism, of this, of that, everybody has got traits. Yep. And this is the reason why it still takes so long for diagnosis. What is learnt behaviour and what is A, B, C and D? Well, I think if you really look at it, I think it's everything all combined. I think it's learnt behaviour, and I think it's our personality traits as well. But no, this is the thing, is I actually, because if you watch Holly and Isaac, right, the more time they spend with each other, they've got one another's traits, their mannerisms, their this, their that. Does that mean Holly's copied Isaac having ADHD? No, because that's not Isaac's condition. He's got sensory processing disorder. Holly's got ADHD because if you actually look...
She hasn't been diagnosed with autism. She's only been diagnosed with autism.
Right.
And how it manifests with her and her stims and her tics is very different from Isaac's stims and tics. Even though, as you said, there is a lot of similarities between them.
Okay, so Holly, attention-wise, Isaac will sit down and he'll learn in class, unless he decides he doesn't want to, and he'll tell you, I'm not learning, get over it. Right, in fact, he ended up with a detention last week because of that. Right, Holly, you can ring bells, you can do whatever you want, but if she's not learning, she's not learning, and she'll go for a little wander around the class because of the attention and the deficit of that attention.
I actually expected that because obviously I haven't spent time with them in a long time. So of course having them in Bible class today, the kids class today, was quite interesting because they are two completely separate individuals.
Yeah, exactly.
With different learning abilities, different attention spans, and different detailing. And when I compare them to other kids that I've had in the class of that same age, you see the same again, which again I'm sort of like, we're all on this spectrum of different level, but the difference is majority are skewed one way, and you've just got the few that are skewed the other way, and because they don't, their difficulties, their differences is more apparent, then we have to try and help them through that.
Exactly.
But a classic one in the class today is Isaac, would you like to colour this? No. Okay, you've done very well. Would you like to have this thing cut? Yes. Do you want to put a flower? Yes. Do you want it cut? No. It's quite like that. Holly, hello, Holly. Yes. Do you want to put colour? Yes. Okay. Hello, Holly. He is like, I am like this, I am concentrating, and Holly's like, da 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 da.
She's very fairyland on his
And I love that, and I think that God is amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
Because He hasn't created, like we do, robots. We make robots, automatons. God in every single person, even though we are made in His image and in His likeness, we are unique.
Right. Very little story.
Quick one,
Right. Okay, so we looked after another person's child. Holly was about 3 at the time, and this child is maybe 4 years older than Holly, and there's Holly. She's doing a jigsaw, and and this child that's older is just going, huh? I cannot figure out a simple jigsaw. Motor skills, and this is where I was going with the whole thing. We're all different. All of our personality traits are different because God made us and set us apart different. So,
and when you look at it, it reminds me of what God says, especially when I was having a conversation with Moses and later on with the prophets. He makes all of us different. He makes the deaf, the dumb, those who can speak well, those who can't speak well, those who can run fast, and those who waddle. We're all unique and different, but he uses everybody with the abilities he's given us to bring glory to him, to love him, and to love one another. And at the end of the day, just going back to the class we had today, same product, same stuff they were supposed to make. Holly's is artistic with glitter and this, and everything plays into a nice. She was doing it and I'm like, she's gonna put in, no, it's the pattern that shows. Isaac is stoic. I only want this. It's beautiful, but it's different. Yeah. So in when people are talking about autism, people go autism. Oh, this fear. But even within autism, the beauty that stems from it, although there's so much difficulty and a lot of work, and I commend all parents, you know, especially those who are having to look after them 24/7, that I'm hoping and praying that they do get time periods where they can have a bit of time to themselves, because everybody needs that, and every carer should be able to get that. But at the same time, the beauty of those children should not be missed, because they bring joy sometimes. I'm sure there are times when the kids have made you laugh, as well as times they made you cry.
Oh yes.
But that happens to everybody. It's just that with autism, it can be, you get those extremes.
Yeah. It's more challenging when it's school holidays. That's when it's more challenging, because they're out of routine of school, because the routine changes, and then because the routine changes, they don't know what to do with themselves unless you can provide them with ABC activity, but it's not school. So you can do things to help all of that, but because it's not the regular routine, it can affect the regular. It can affect behaviour. So there's a lot of things that people don't see, but we keep it. It's kept quiet because it just goes on behind doors, and you learn to just to get on with what's been thrown up at you, and you get into the routine as a parent of, okay, this is what's going on, and we have to deal with it as best as can, because there's always there's a regular challenge, and it's like the roller coaster. It's a roller coaster. You don't know what's going to go. Whose turn is it going to be today to have a moment or not? So not with everything. So
what you've had now, definitely over 10 years of all of this, what advice would you give? Because some people who might get to hear this video might be in the throes of it, might be at the start of it, may have gone past, have other children. What, from what you've been through, what, even just one or two advice would you
don't
give?
listen to advice. Sounds crass, sounds really cliche. The reason I say this is because every child and every situation is completely different.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got to find a way of making. You've got to. It's the same as building relationships. So yeah, you can give advice until you're blue in the face, but what works for two people may not work for two people. So everyone's got opinions. Everyone's got, and it's not always good advice. It's sometimes opinion is based on their own position. It's all about feel found. This is where feelings, because you're developing a relationship, you're developing and nurturing a relationship with your child, because that is what you're doing. This is where feelings and wisdom and trial and error all come in. It's the same as parenting. You know, it's yeah, okay, how do you put a nappy on? Okay, yeah, that's advice and opinion, you know. But how and when to, you know, how often you change the nappy, well, how long does it take? Do you see what I mean? It's
so do you have like a support network around?
I was just gonna go. So I think
is there a support network out there?
Yeah, there is. But you have to look for it. You have to go and fish for it in your area. You have to fish for it in your areas. So, when the children were a lot younger, through a charity called Autism West Midlands, Dad was always offering courses, and I would go course after course after course to try and learn from their knowledge and experiences with different things that you might go through. And I still stay in touch with them. I don't do as much courses because the courses repeat quite regular. But there has been some more coming up that are going to be more significant again, which is dealing with autistic children, puberty and adolescence, which is now in a place where that's getting more appropriate with ours because of the ages that they're getting to. So it's finding time to access that. Also, I think one of the biggest areas that are going access is it's called Sandwell Parents for the Disabled, and they provide regular coffee mornings for parents and activities, and they provide regular activities for the children. So they provide like canoeing and horse riding and a whole mixture of different stuff that you can take your children to. You have to book because there's so many parents wanting to go. You have to book. And and the last thing we did to them, we went to there was a party over Halloween. Not that we're not. It's not about the Halloween. It was about the children getting together. And that's another one.
So people have to look.
You have to go. You have to go search.
And I'm guessing some of these are charity led.
They are
charity.
Have to
pay, and some of them you have to pay for.
So the thing is, all the autism, it's charity. It's all charity funding. They're relying on funding. Government have no input whatsoever. It's pure charity. So they're always fundraising and doing things like that. So it was a few months ago. I did with Autism West Midlands. We went and did a 5k walk around Sandwell Valley to raise X amount of funds, and I went and took part in that. And they managed to raise X amount of funds. So with the funds that they've raised, they now can provide more resources and activities for people, for the children again. So it's constantly.
Let me just ask one quick question before we finish up here, okay? If somebody's watching, like Philly said, if somebody's watching right now and maybe they're about to give birth or have just given birth and found out their child has autism in some shape or form, I could imagine for some parents that would be absolutely devastating, and I can understand that. But what advice would you say to them in terms of, you know, I don't want to say it's not as bad as you think, or but something along those lines? What would you say to them?
I think because the thing is, there's one big thing with autism. Okay, autism develops which comes under the neurodiverse. It's a neurological condition, and it occurs when the baby's in the womb. So when the brain is being put together, it's how it's wired. Okay, so everybody's brain is uniquely wired very differently, and so it happens in there. There is no way that can be detected at that time, right? Because if it was, I think there'd be some parents that freaked out. There would probably be the abortion rate would probably increase to a level that we didn't want, and that's because there was some severity. I think there was as well. There was some severity of autism and what things, mixed up beliefs and things I'm not even going down that road of, that it can be, some people would never be able to walk who have it, some will never be able to speak because there's mutism there with it, and there's a whole way. But I'm telling you, all you can learn to do is when you've got when your baby is born, whether they have a medical condition or not, you just embrace that baby and you just love and nurture that baby the best way that you can as a parent. That's all you can do, is just love and let grow and let grow. And then when something that, and then when they are, these perceived developmental norms are out there, when those milestones maybe aren't being hit, that's when you go and seek medical advice and go, I'd like this investigated because I think there's this issue or something like that. And that's the only way that they can do it. Because, and unfortunately there's something that really needs praying about, is the system out there is in such a massive mess that the diagnosis of things are getting more and more difficult. So when we look with Holly was born with all of the complications that she has. If the system was in a better situation, she would have been diagnosed much younger, because she was born that way. And I suppose we could say that with Isaac, but with Isaac it wasn't clear. But with Holly, we was already preempted, because she was born so premature that she may have autism and she may have ADHD. We was already told this by medical consultants, because it is a common factor that a number of children can. So it's tricky, and it can be really scary, but you have to just embrace what you can.
But there is support networks.
There's lots of support out there, because you're not on your own unless you choose. Some days are lonely, and you can be, but there is always support out there. You have to go searching for it, because it's not going to fall on your lap.
Yeah.
And one benefit and one positive side now is of social media and networking. There is lots and lots of support out there available, but it's finding what's going to benefit you and your family's needs for you. And
so very quickly, 10 seconds or so. From a dad perspective, Martin.
Yes.
What advice would you give to dads?
Be supportive. Try and get as much education as possible. Just be a role model. That's, it's be there, just be there, be educated, be support network.
Well, thank you both very much for opening up, and just from a personal, from Fumi and I, we know that you guys have been an inspiration to us and yourself, and you've got two amazing kids. One I'll keep calling the miracle child. Collie's has come in leaps and bounds, but I hope and pray that people are inspired by this to think that actually it's not the end of the world. It's a lot of good could come out of this with the right network around you and things like that as well. So thank you both for talking, and thank you again, Fumi, for.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
We'll see you next time. God bless you. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Bye.